What's up, everybody? We are live from Studio C here in the Annenberg Media Center, and welcome to this semester's very first episode of SportsScene. It's your boy, the voice of Troy, Gavin Murillo, reporting live from Studio C in the Annenberg Media Center. I'm joined by Daniel Palmore, Jeremy Kole, and Andrew Brooks, and today we've got some action-packed awesomeness to uncover. So let's get to it. Football is back. The Trojans are rolling off to a 3-0 start after defeating Fresno State 45-17. And somebody get an extinguisher because the offense is on fire. The defense, not so much. But Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams are continuing to put SC on the map. 284 yards passing on the day and a pair of some sweet touchdowns later, the Trojans have taken care of business every single game. And the last time USC began a season with 3 wins by a double-digit margin was in 2007. We've got a lot of offensive highlights, so let's check those out.
Let's check out some offensive highlights because much like the previous 2 games, there were a lot of them. The Trojans would take control early, with Caleb Williams finding who else but Jordan Addison in the end zone for their first score of the game. But that high-flying offensive approach would only last for so long, as it would be the ground and pound approach that would blow this game out of the water, with Travis Dye and Austin Jones both scoring. Here's what head coach Lincoln Riley had to say about the Trojans' offensive performance.
That was a point of emphasis for the offense, so we've got to be able to win in different ways, and whether we're playing fast or hitting explosive plays or, it slows down, you have a lot of plays you got to be able to execute. Being fairly effective on third down and really, really effective on fourth down was a big part of that, and I think it showed some progress.
On to a more interesting matter, perhaps what will define the ceiling of USC football this season, the Trojans' defense. Now, the defense looked good early on, allowing only 10 points, combining for 8 takeaways in the previous 2 games. The Trojans had a much more quiet night against Fresno State. With over 3 sacks on the day, the defensive line looked good early, but let up some big plays late. Here's Coach Lincoln Riley on his team's defense against the Bulldogs.
We just held a really, really good offense and offensive staff and talented guys to 17 points. Can it get better? Absolutely. Do we expect it to get better? Yes. But we're finding ways to allow people to not score very many points and win games and make the big plays when we need to make them.
Yeah, that's right. You tell them, Coach. All right, so now we've got some practice footage, and we've got a lot of stuff to cover for Oregon State this weekend.
And during practice this week, the Trojans looked ahead to the upcoming matchup against Oregon State, and they really focused on improving their defense. OSU has an offense or a dynamic offense, so the Trojans will need to contain the Beavers' run game and limit those big plays they let up late.
All right, so as you can see here, this guy is just running through everybody. They're a good team, right? 3-0. This is the first team that we're facing where, we're actually going to have some real competition, so it'll be a good Pac-12 matchup that we're going to face. All right, so guys, a really good weekend. What did you like that you saw from USC, and what are some things that, we need to work on? I'm here with Daniel, Jeremy, and Andrew. Daniel, what do you think?
So for last weekend's game, the thing that I was really impressed about with the Trojans, obviously it was a big game at home, a night game. I was really impressed by the fact that they didn't play down to their opponent. Obviously, we all knew going into the game that Fresno State fans travel well. It was going to be a packed Coliseum, which it definitely was. And I think USC just did a very good job of handling that pressure and doing what they do. They scored on offense. Obviously, some plays were let up on defense, but they got better throughout the game. So that was one thing I was really impressed with, just how well USC handled the pressure of the game on Saturday.
Yeah, and they definitely handled that pressure well. The one biggest thing that stuck out to me was the effectiveness of the USC run game. Austin Jones and Travis Dye each had over 100 yards on the ground, and if USC's dynamic offense, it's already explosive as is.
Right.
If they're able to get an effective running offense that's consistent, look out. I mean, they're going to light up the scoreboard. And I also love their red zone defense. They only held Fresno State to 1 field goal out of 4 red zone attempts, so that was really, really good to see.
I was also really impressed with Austin Jones. Jones is a guy who's averaged about 4 yards per carry in his career, and this season he's averaging 8.2 yards a carry, which is double and actually really, really impressive mark. Also, Mario Williams, the number 2 receiver after Jordan Addison, doesn't quite get as much of the hype, but he had a really impressive back shoulder catch on the sideline when Fresno State had a lot of the momentum, and I thought that was a big spark for USC's offense.
Yeah, I think the offense looked great, but I'm actually going to focus on the defense, something that we need to work on. I think a strong point of that is Eric Gentry. This guy is the Giannis Antetokounmpo of football. All right, he's got a 7-foot wingspan. He can cover everything. And this Saturday, I think he's going to be a really big factor for the Trojans. So speaking of this Saturday, what do the Trojans need to do to get a win?
I think this Saturday the focus of the game should be Oregon State's rushing attack. Oregon State definitely loves to run the ball, and I think USC's run defense has been an issue throughout this season. And so I think just focusing on stopping Oregon State's rushing attack is going to be critical in Saturday's matchup.
Yeah, and USC has started off most of their games this season, or actually every game this season, very strong on offense. They score on almost every single possession, but Oregon State has actually done the exact same thing. So I'm really interested to see whether or not USC can weather the storm early on and also limit those big plays, because that's what really stood out to me, especially on the defensive side against Fresno State.
I'm excited to see USC have to play a full game. All the fourth quarters this season in our first 3 games have been out of reach. It hasn't been competitive in the fourth quarter. We haven't had those pressure situations where get a big third down in the fourth quarter when it's a 7-point game. So those moments are the kinds of moments that USC is going to have at the end of the year if they're going to be in bowl games or the playoff. And that's the kind of moment that you can have against an Oregon State offense that's maybe close, if not as high-flying as USC's has been.
Right, not going against a ranked team, but going against a good team. 3-0, this will be a big Pac-12 matchup for USC, and this is some actual serious competition, even more so than Fresno State, where we can really see how we're going to play the rest of the season. All right, for a different type of football, we go to women's soccer.
Switching over to soccer, women's soccer held off UC Irvine last Thursday in a 3-2 victory. The Trojans improved their overall record to 4-1-1 on the season and will play at home against Stanford on Friday for what will be their first Pac-12 matchup of the season.
It's going to be a good one.
After seeing how the Trojans looked against UC Irvine, what do you guys think are some areas that they need to improve on as we look at these highlights here in order to beat Stanford on Friday? And as we see in these last highlights, the Trojans' last meeting against Stanford came in October of last year, and USC took the victory in an exciting overtime matchup. Simone Jackson scored a goal in the 52nd minute of the game, and Croy Bethune scored 2 goals. Her first goal came in the 54th minute of the game, and her second goal came in the 92nd minute of the game to give USC a 3-2 overtime victory. And with that win, USC improved their record to 14-2-2 on the season, and the win marked their first victory against Stanford since 2016. Obviously, we are all looking forward to Friday's game and how they will play. So let's switch over to water polo.
USC water polo lost a tough back-and-forth game to number 5 ranked Pacific, but bounced back during the Aggie Roundup this past weekend with strong wins over number 20 ranked Navy and number 6 ranked UC Davis. And as I was saying, that back-and-forth game against Pacific last Friday, USC lost by a score of 15-13 as the Trojans fell behind early and failed to mount a comeback. Jake Earhart led the Trojans with 3 goals in that game. And in USC's opening matchup of the Aggie Roundup, the Trojans took down UC Davis 12-4 behind Max Miller's 4 goals and Marcus Longton's 3 points. In their second match against their Trojans saw history. Kyle McKinney netted the first ever goalie goal in USC history in a 14-5 victory over Navy. It's a pretty big deal as we just saw that highlight. McKinney also added a career-high 14 saves, and his outstanding performance earned him Mountain Pacific Sports Federation West Newcomer of the Week. A little bit of a mouthful. But overall, the last 3 games, USC shot 46%, while opponents shot just 31%, so they've done a good job. And USC now holds an overall record of 8-3, thanks to a balanced attack and big performances from goalies Kyle McKinney, as I just mentioned, and goalie Eric Hubner. Next up on the schedule, the Trojans head up to Stanford for the Mountain Pacific Sports Federation Invitational.
Volleyball.
The USC women's volleyball team won the Trojan Challenge this weekend, defeating Mexico State, Milwaukee, and San Jose State. The Trojans swept each game 3-0 and finished the tournament without losing a set. They have completed their non-conference play with a record of 8-3. Senior outside hitter Skylar Fields was named the most outstanding player of the tournament. The Texas transfer had 42 kills across the 3 matches. Sophomore setter Mia Twaniga showed up in a big way for her team as well. Twaniga finished the Trojan Challenge with 104 assists and 6 aces. USC begins conference play on Thursday at UCLA. This 20-game Pac-12 schedule is sandwiched by the crosstown rival, and will wrap up when the Trojans host the Bruins on November 25th. Annenberg Media reporter Curran Rastogi spoke to head coach Brad Keller after the tournament. He emphasized that the Trojans need to cut down on their serving errors and work on their offensive and defensive rotation before Pac-12 play begins. USC will face UCLA this Thursday, and with the matchup against Washington State on Saturday, what do the Trojans do well in the tournament last weekend that they should try to carry over into conference play?
I think they just got to play their hearts out and bring us another championship. For all of us, he's Daniel, he's Jeremy, he's Andrew, I'm Gavin. Thank you guys for joining our very first sports scene of the year. If you want to watch sports, if you love sports, make sure you tune in every single Wednesday. From all of us, peace out.
Fight on.
Fight on.